Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Reinteractive's webinar on implementing AI in business. Today, I'm joined by Kane Hooper, the Chief Operating Officer. Welcome, Kane.
Hey, Sarah. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. I'm really looking forward to this topic and discussion. It should be good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. So the first topic we're going to discuss today is the fundamentals of AI and when to use it. So, Kane, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, so I think it's quite an important area to start with, because what I'm seeing a lot these days generally with AI and its implementation is a general misunderstanding on what it is and what it can do. And so there's a lot of incorrect information that's spread out. So I've done a lot of study in this. I was enrolled in a master's of AI for a time. I did all the math subjects, all the really complicated subjects. I didn't quite finish it because the whole subject was moving faster than the university could keep up. So I didn't see a need to finish it at the time. But in order to really understand what we're going to talk about, which is how to implement really good customer-driven AI, I think it's good to get just some fundamentals in play. Sarah, just out of curiosity, what was your maths like when you were going through high school, your math skills?
I'm one of these unusual women that was actually in top line maths with all the guys. I was in New South Wales at the time and I loved it.
All right, good. So I'm going to cover some basic fundamental maths because, frankly, all AI is, at its basics, is maths and statistical maths. So I don't know if you remember this from back in the day. So you've got like your graphs, right? So we're going to talk about graphs, and this will relate to AI because, again, fundamentally, what I'm about to show you is what AI is doing, just on a much more complicated level. So you may have done statistics, in which case, remember the day where you had all these data points, and one of the things you had to do was to find the line that best fits the data. And you did all. We won't get into the specifics on that. So this is the basics of statistics, because what we're doing is we're basically finding, on average, if I input this value here, on average, I'm going to get this output here. Now, where it gets a little more complex, so I'll scrub him out. So that was a fairly straight line approach. But let's take something like a simple example, like your ice cream truck. And what we want to know is, based on the temperature, so the x-axis here is representing the temperature, how much am I likely to sell? So we can create a little model, and you can actually create an AI model that will predict, based on the temperature, how much you're going to sell. And the way we need to do this is we've got to train the AI based on real historical data. So what we'll find is at really low temperatures, we have very few sales. At some point, let's say once we get into about maybe the 20-degree mark, we start to get a steep increase. Then it sort of flattens out because there's only so much ice cream you're going to sell in a day. And there is probably a point where, when it gets too hot, your ice cream sales drop because no one's coming out. Now, if we were to draw a straight line, that's not very accurate. So there's other ways. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find a line that sort of goes, something like that, where it most closely represents the training data. And so when our little AI, we go, all right, the temperature's, I don't know here, let's say this is 32 degrees. We can anticipate we're going to sell $5,000 that day in ice cream. Therefore, we can predict how much, in terms of tubs of ice cream we need and supplies and so on. So this is what we're doing with AI. Now, where it gets much more complicated, of course, is when we're looking at things like large language models. And let's just do, and what we're doing with large language models is we're taking, well, let's actually go for, say, your mobile phone, you've got your predictive text. So my wife plays predictive text shenanigans. We should play games on Facebook with people where you just keep pressing the next predictive text and see what comes up. And what it
That
does is,
sounds
so for
really
example,
fun.
yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah.
But what that is an AI model. It's using the same fundamentals. And the idea here, again, I'm simplifying it. But if you've got the word, let's say, the word meeting, and what the X represents now is every single word that is trained in the model. So say meeting occurs here, and then on this axis here, again, is every single word that's been put into the model. And what the AI does is go, if the word is meeting, the next highest probability is, let's say it's here, is meeting, it might be the word tomorrow. And it just, that outputs that. Now, the way it works with the language is it takes lots of language as the training data, and it's basically looking for the patterns. And it basically goes, every time I see the word meeting, what comes next? And, it'll say, if you have a phrase like the meeting is, we want a meeting tomorrow, we want a meeting next week, all these tomorrows and next weeks and all these different phrases have a higher or lower probability of occurring in the training data. And actually what the AI actually does in the end is it takes all this data in and it creates a graph like we saw before, except it's like super complex. In fact, you can't even draw it because it occurs in multiple dimensions. It's like outside of 3 dimensions. And but the idea is that it's still a graph. It's still, you've got an input. In this case, it matches an output, and over here. So fundamentally, all that these AIs are is maths. And it's just, from the days of maths when you were drawing graphs, the difference here is these graphs are so complex and in so many different dimensions, you just can't visually represent them. But all the AI is doing is it takes an input and it goes, all right, what's the highest probability or what's the likelihoods? Now, with the large language models, they go a little bit further and they give multiple probabilities. So they give, say, the next 5 most likely words to occur. And there are tools that you can actually open up and you can see when you're writing the cat was, and what it will do, the AI will use its graph and it'll actually pick the next 5 highest probability words. The cat was black, orange, hungry, and maybe that's 50% probability, that's 30% probability, that was 5% probability, and so on. And so what AI is, it's a predictive model. It uses probabilities and statistics. Now, the reason AI with things like ChatGPT and so on is sounding so human-like is not really the fundamental mathematics have changed. And it hasn't changed that much in 50 years, the original AI models. There are some more complexities, of course, but the real change is the processing power. We've got these so much more ability to process larger computers, new chips are being created. And so we can put so much human knowledge into these AIs that when they're creating these graphs, they have the appearance of sounding like they're human, but they've just got so much data to draw on that they've seen so many patterns and they've been able to narrow down to, right, when I see the cat was, good, out of these billions of times I've seen the cat was, black occurs that often, orange occurs that often, hungry occurs that often. And then it just starts to build out the rest of the language. I think the main thing to understand with AI is it finds patterns. It finds statistical patterns. And this is really important when it comes to understanding how to implement AI and actually how it works, is that there's no sentience to AI. Anyone in the community who says that AI is sentient or apparently sentient hasn't looked at the basics. I mean, you can code. I could teach the average person to code up a very basic AI in about a weekend. They're actually not that complex to build. Things like ChatGPT, granted, are a lot more complex. But again, the fundamentals to get an AI that will work, it's actually not that complex. It's the quantity of data we have access to and the amount of processing that we can perform on it that makes it look like it's human, because it's been able to find all the patterns in all of the human language. Like, it's been fed fed all of Wikipedia. It's fed every possible book it can possibly be fed. Huge amounts of the content on the internet and so on. And it's sufficiently found patterns that it will sound like a human reasoning human, but it's not. And that's a really important point to get when we're dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, very good points there.
So I think that covers the fundamentals.
Great. It's a really good explanation, Kane. Never thought to look at it like that.
Yeah. Well, most people don't, but that's all right. Even the tech guys don't.
It's your professor in accounting coming out.
Yeah, well, indeed. So maybe the thing to understand when we're talking about these patterns with AI is also understanding what it is going to do when you start to implement it as a solution. So you'll see with, for example, blog posts. So if anyone's particularly in the technical space, there's hundreds of blog posts that are coming online every day, and a high percentage of them are AI generated. So the person goes on, they go, I want a blog post on how to build a login form. And the AI spits out the blog post and they just throw that up online. Now, the thing is that once you know what you're looking for, you can see an AI generated blog post from a mile away, because what the AI is doing is it finds patterns. So when it generates the blog post, you'll find they all start to sound the same. So there's this thing, this sort of colloquial term for this, which is called the like Delvish. It's like this new language or this new way of communicating that's come from AI. It's called Delvish because AI will often use the phrase, let's delve into. So it's been coined as Delvish as the language. But you'll see things like game changer, transformative. And you get these beginning of these blog posts say things like, I've got it written here, in the ever advancing world of AI, one solution stands out as a game changer for executives. Now they all start to sound the same. And the reason is again, the AI doesn't think, it doesn't have sentience. It's found a pattern and it's outputting the most probable communication, which after a while all starts to sound the same. You'll see this with AI image generation as well. If you do enough of it, you'll start to realize that they all start to look the same, because all the AI is doing is finding the averages. It's like that graph again, and it just sort of finds the average, the best fit. So you've got to be really well aware of that when you're dealing with AI, it has these limitations, and it's very difficult to push AI out of these limitations, these averages that it's dealing with. So, I don't know, Sarah, if you've been using AI to do like email generation, have you played with that at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the thing you've got to be slightly careful of with that sort of thing is, again, the AI is going to pull everything down to an average. It's taking the human element, while it's taking the human data, but it's taking that human element of true creativeness, of true expression, and kind of squishing it again into that average. And AI emails all start to sound the same, and it loses the personal connection, which is, I think, one thing that's really important when we're dealing with AI is that I like to use AI to enhance human connection, not to diminish human connection. And in order to take away the things that are a bit mundane, a bit repetitive, and allow humans to better interact with each other, I think that's where AI is your best fit. So there's been an interesting case recently with Commonwealth Bank, where I think they failed on this quite relatively spectacularly. I need to share that in one moment while I unshare my screen here.
Yeah, I saw something on that, Kane. I'm looking forward to hearing the story here.
Right. So CBA, Commonwealth Bank, in their infinite wisdom, decided to replace large numbers of their customer service team with AI. There's promise of AI being able to replace humans, and with the stated point that it would make the human interaction easier so customers can get their data better and so on. Yeah, that failed quite spectacularly. In fact, I think it was only about a week or two ago, where Commonwealth Bank came out and apologized, and they're rolling that back, because what ended up happening is they tried to build these AI chatbots that would replace humans completely. But all it ended up doing was actually driving more volume into the call center, because people were getting so frustrated with the agents that they were demanding to get to the call center. Of course, they'd reduce staff, so they had issues with having to get people doing overtime, and managers were having to get on the phones, and it was quite the disaster. Where they made the mistake is they tried to take AI as a complete replacement of the human being. And the reality is AI is just not there yet as a technology. It may get there at some point, and it may be soon at the speed things are going, but not there yet. Because again, AI doesn't have the ability to reason, and it doesn't actually understand what a human being is saying. What it does is it goes, this is what the human's saying, and it uses its probability to determine what's the most likely response. Now, then you get all sorts of weird things happening, because as soon as that probability slightly diverges, then it goes off on a tangent, because that probability then drags further and further away as the AI starts to think it's going down a certain path. And so you get customers getting caught up in all sorts of loops. I don't know if you've had any experience with these AI models yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I was on a chat once and I was just like, kept saying real agent, real human. I was trying to find their keyword that would actually take me to a real person. So what do you recommend like businesses set up? Because I was getting very frustrated. I went round in loops until I found the keyword that actually would take me to that person, because the bot, the AI agent could not answer my question.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of these companies have tried to do, is they have tried to make the AI the replacement of the human, and make it difficult for the customer to get in touch with the human. And I think that's a big mistake, particularly right now. So number one, if you're going to implement AI customer agents, which you should, and there can be, and there's some good ways to use it, you have to make it really easy to get in touch with another human. Like, make that possible. Don't stop people, particularly while all of the kinks and all of the issues with AI are being ironed out. The reputational risk, I think, is a lot worse than just having the people to actually deal with humans. Where AI is good right now, small transactions, small things like, what's my account balance? That's fine. I'll talk about agents in a minute and what agents can and can't do. But, do you have this product in stock? Yeah, we do. Here's the link to the page to buy it. When's my order going to arrive? Okay, based on the information I have, your order is going to be here in 7 weeks. Not, I just got my product. It's really bad. I can't work out how to get it working. There's missing this, that, and the other. And then the AI gives some pat response, and the person's like, that didn't help. And the AI won't send you to a human. Forget it. It's not there. The ability for AI to reason just ain't there. So for success in implementation, one, you need to start small. So I'd probably say the big mistake is trying to chew off too much. Take a small problem, one that can be solved by AI. I'll give you an example. One I'm working on with a client at the moment. So they sell plumbing parts. Really cool guys, like really switched on, and they have had a manual process where a person signs up. They get a call from one of the owners, they run through a few questions, and then they get ability to buy at a special price. The problem with that is it takes a little bit too long. We might be losing some customers in the meantime. But there's not in that whole process, there's not actually a huge amount of decision-making required. So the small amount that is required, the AI can do quite well. So it's just a few questions the AI takes, it sets up everything in their CRM, adds them in to the system straight away. They can start purchasing. What the guys are doing, which I think is fantastic, is this owner is still going to call them. Now they're going to call them a day later, go, hey, did you get in? Did you find what you're after? Oh, yeah, we've got this, we've got that, and so on. So what the AI is going to do in that case is it's going to speed up the process where it's been taking maybe 1 to 2 days to get a customer signed up and getting the pricing, to now it'll happen in minutes. But in their smarts, they're still going to do the human interaction. In fact, the owner was saying, if I don't have to do all this admin like clicking buttons and adding accounts and doing all that stuff, which the AI will do automatically, he'll be able to spend more time with their customers. They'll be able to talk to more people and bring in that human element. But they're starting with a small problem, but it's a problem that should increase their revenue because the customers will be able to get access to the site fast and start buying things. So that's the sort of thing I think is where you want to look when you're building AI.
Yeah, great. That's a really good use case scenario.
So I think the next thing would be good to talk about is just agents, because where everything's headed and what's going to be the most useful elements of AI are AI agents. And I just want to show.
Well, I was just going to say, Kane, you know, it's such a buzzword, AI agents. Do you want to, just in case there's anyone that would like to know what they are?
Yeah, well, defining them is important because then you can actually understand what to do with them. All right, so let me just, my board, here we go. All right, so we've got agents. And an agent is made up primarily of 3 things. So an agent has what we call a reasoning engine. So this is where, again, it's not really thinking, but it's where the AI thinks. It's where it takes in the information, such as the question from the customer, you know, when is my product going to get here? The reasoning engine is the part of the agent which it decides what I need to do here. The other 2 parts, it has a connection to context or information. So an agent must have access to information. And then by definition, an agent has tools. It has things that it can perform. So the way it basically works and what differentiates, say, an agent from ChatGPT is that the agent, so ChatGPT is just, it generates text. You give it something, it generates text. You give it something, it generates text. Though I should be more precise because they've just released the agent version of ChatGPT. But the key is an agent can actually go out and do things in the, quote unquote, in the real world. And that's what differentiates an agent just from your basic AI. Now, this is where AI will explode. And as these agents, and particularly as the reasoning engine gets better and better and better, these agents will be able to do things a lot more effectively. And frankly, they will replace a lot of human activity. So, you know, what I'm talking about with that other client where I'm building an agent for them. And what that agent's going to do is it gets information, it gets context. So what it does is it's going to receive information about the customer that signed up. It's going to get things like the ABN number, and it's going to use tools. It's going to do things like an ABN lookup. And it's going to do other tools potentially like credit checks. And what that agent's going to do is it's going to, so it gets the customer information, it goes and uses the tools and does these checks, and then it's going to decide whether to actually go ahead and create the account. And again, that's another tool. So if you're using something like Salesforce, which someone would have to manually go in and create the lead and convert it to an account and click all the checkboxes and add all the information. In this case, the agent will work inside Salesforce and it will do the actions. Now, the trick with agents is understanding, again, that these reasoning engines don't really reason. Again, it's a probability tool. And so you have to keep it relatively limited at this stage. So a sign-up flow where there's not a huge amount of decision-making required, great, the AI can do that. But again, when you're getting into really complicated human interaction, you're still going to have to just push that person straight to, a human being. But these agents are going to get better and better and better. If anyone's in the coding space, like I use agents all the time to write my code. Not write all my code, but I get it to read my code, tell me where certain information is located. It can run commands in the terminal, like it'll run checks to make sure the code I've written works correctly. So I use it as a sort of a second developer sitting next to me, watching what I'm doing. You know, I can ask it questions. I can ask it where information is located, but it has access to context, so my code. It has access to tools, so it can actually write code. It can run checks and tests and these sorts of things. And it has a reasoning engine which decides when to use a tool and when to get information. That fundamentally is what agents are. And this whole addition of tools has been relatively new in the space of probably 6 months is where we've seen the tools really starting to come to life. All right.
Yeah, great. That's really awesome. And so when does AI make sense for a business?
AI makes sense when you've got a clearly defined problem, which it has some requirement for thinking. So one thing to show as well, let me go here. Is there is a sort of a way to decide whether to use AI or not. Because one of the things I'm seeing with a lot of products is they're going, we're AI driven. And you actually look at it and go, there's no AI in this at all. It's become, unfortunately, that buzzword. It's the big marketing slogan. Everyone has to have AI on their product. But AI is not the solution for everything. And understanding when and when not to use it actually is, as particularly if you're an executive, it's quite an important thing. So the two sides to look at this are, let me just grab my, so I've got it, yes, is when you've got fixed logic versus flexible reasoning. So fixed logic means that it's the same process every single time. So for example, an order comes through and again, say you're using Salesforce, an order comes in and, there's a few checkboxes need to be ticked and it needs to be sent as a docket to the packing team. And there's just a series of steps. Now that's an automation. You wouldn't use AI for that. In fact, AI would be overkill. It's going to cost you unnecessary money. And in fact, the AI is likely to do things you don't want it to do at times because it's predictive, and there will be some probabilities where even if it's a 0.1% chance, that 0.1% is going to happen at some point, and it's going to do something weird. So AI is never used for fixed logic. You just use your standard coding tools, or in something like Salesforce, you have flows. You just set up an automation, off you go. Where you need some kind of decision point, where you generally would have a human make a decision, is where you need AI. So for the plumbing guys, they have certain rules on whether an account should be opened or whether it should be sent for human verification. So this is the auto account. And those rules are pretty simple. There's only 3 of them. And the AI will pretty much 90% of the time get that, or 99% of the time get that right. And so they'll probably automate about 95% of the customers signing up. There'll be about 5% that violate some of these rules, and they need a human to check it. And that's where the AI makes the decision, and it'll push it to either auto. And then once you hit auto, now you're back in the realm of fixed logic, and you just use some kind of automation. And that's where AI works. Some kind of reasoning is required. Now, so the keys to success with AI is 1, don't just put AI in because that's a recipe for disaster. And an MIT study recently came out saying something like 95% of AI implementations fail. I would say primarily because people are putting AI in for the sake of AI. Number 2, start with a small problem. If you try and go too big too fast, your AI will fail. Commonwealth Bank led the charge for us on that, so we don't have to make their mistake again. Start with a simple problem, a single problem. Get AI to improve something that's going to generate some kind of improvement for your organization, whether it's revenue generation, time saved, efficiencies, and so on. But always make sure that if you've got it like a chatbot on your website, make sure you can push that to a human really, really easily. Don't cut that part out. Not yet anyway. There will be a point where AI gets so good that it will be able to just communicate like a real human being and have the apparency of understanding, make decisions, and so on. But things like, if you want to put it like a chatbot on your website, which is very doable, things like, do you have a certain product? Do you have it in stock? Where's my shipping at? you go to a clothing site, I'm looking for a summer dress that's blue, and it'll be able to go through the catalog and it'll be able to find the top 3 items and make those suggestions and give the links and take the user to that page. Those sorts of things work quite well. Policy questions, I want to sign up for health insurance. Do you cover XYZ? Now, I don't know if that'd work for health insurance because they've got to be a little careful, but even in a less medical place or insurance place, you can, and it can show the exact reference as well, the exact data of where it came from. So that's that point of AI or agent where it has access to information. So basic policy, those sorts of things, very good at being able to extract that and provide that data. So if you keep it simple like that and keep those sorts of, and just do one at a time, get it working, add the next piece in, add the next piece in, that's a recipe for success. Anything else, you're throwing your hands up in your air and hoping that the chips fall where you want them to. That would be, that's where I would definitely start.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good list. Good. And then any other case usage that you've come across, Kane, that's really good usages?
So one we implemented, this is quite a complicated one. It's probably one of the most complex use cases of AI I've seen, not just in what I've done, but also just in the general world of AI, is one client, a wholesaler. So they buy items in wholesale and then they sell that to other locations around Australia. This particular wholesaler, they get hundreds of emails in from suppliers with deals and offers, and you can buy this at this price. And every email is different and they're all laid out differently. And some have spreadsheets and some are in PDFs. And what they had is they had 2 people just all day manually getting those emails and typing it into their system all day long. And so this is one of the first AIs we actually built. This is going back about 18 months when we started this, where ChatGPT had really just come out. The tools were just becoming available, and we were able to craft what was one of the first agents, I would say, it pulls in the email and it goes through and it actually extracts those offers out and it puts it into the system in a consistent pattern, so that we've got hundreds of emails which are all different formats and patterns, and it pulls it in and then puts it into the system. So it's got the context, which is the emails. It's got a reasoning engine to work out what's actually in this email, what offers are here, and then a tool to put it into the system itself. And I would say it's probably running at about an 85% success rate, meaning that the offers in the email on 85% of the time have been put into the system correctly. Some of the emails are insane. Like, even as a human, I'm like, I have no idea what they're trying to sell. And that's the same for this particular client. So we flag the ones that are a bit crazy, and then the other ones that are obvious, they get sort of auto checked. And then what happens is salespeople can take those lists and go and sell them to their customers. So what was 2 people all day long was down to 1 person, a couple of hours a day, just checking the ones that were a bit funny. But even then, most of the data is already in the system. It's now a matter of just cross-checking and validating. And so then that organization can put more resources into the human connection, selling the products, finding new customers, rather than that tedious data entry. So data entry is very good. So we've got another client who's in the energy space. They do energy price comparisons. And so you upload your energy bill and they'll find, say you uploaded AGL, and they'll find that Origin's better priced for you. So they're using a Google tool, it's called Document AI, where it takes the bill and extracts all the data out of the bill. So the person's name, the number that's on their energy meter, all their rates, all these things, and it puts it into the system, which then determines what other offer is best suited for them. And so data extraction from documents has become very, very good. I will say we tried to do one probably about 6 years ago, and technology just wasn't there at the time, where we were trying to read information off medical barcodes. So you've got like your medical form and it had a barcode with all the person's information. We're trying to maybe build a scanner So nurses didn't have to manually implement it. 6 years ago, we couldn't do it. Today, yes, you could literally scan, everything would be in the system. It would be probably 98% accuracy, just with a few tweaks here and there as required. So that tech is like optical recognition has come a long way. Image recognition is an extremely powerful point. So I know in some of the technology space, some people that we're aware of using it is in an operating theatre. They've got a camera above the operating theatre, and so they have their tray with the medical instruments on it. And so they start off and it registers what instruments are there. And it tracks the instruments as the surgery is going on. And then at the end of the surgery, it validates that all those instruments are back on the tray, because what you obviously don't want is, oops, we lost a razor inside the patient and we sewed them up. And the AI will detect that. It's just another level of check. And it doesn't happen that often, but anytime it happens is a disaster for the patient and the hospital. So that image recognition has become really, really good. Like if you try Google Gemini and you throw up a picture, it'll describe it extremely well. It'll understand what's there and output. So image use cases, like you could have a laundromat where, say you've got a shirt, takes a photo of the shirt and maybe there's some stains on the shirt. It goes through the cleaning process. It takes another photo and does a comparison. Now you got a quality check. It goes, no, there's still a stain. It sends it back through the whole process. And so you can automate a lot of that quality control. I don't know. I could go on forever. I think we're probably run long enough, but the use cases
really great.
That's get interesting.
Yeah, you did your 150th project, didn't you, recently? And
yes.
So you've got a world of knowledge.
150th software project at Reinteractive. I've done more in previous jobs, but yes, and a few of those. We're starting to do more and more in the AI space. But yeah, I cut my teeth on that really complicated client right when AI came out. And frankly, at the time, I had no idea whether we were going to be successful. Now, it turned out to be very successful. But yeah, we've definitely got experience with some of the most complicated AI use cases, that's for sure. So actually doing that project, I had to work out problems that, at least that I could find, no one else in the world had solved with AI in order to make it work. So I got a few little use cases out there in the world where I solved the problem, and then I went on to different communities and said, all right, this is how you do it. And people going, oh, thank God, So, but I've also gained that from other people and all their solutions and along the way. But AI is in its infancy. There's some really cool things to do, but just get advice before doing it. Don't just run in and just do AI for the sake of AI. And be careful of salespeople just pitching you AI again for the sake of AI. Like, get people who will talk to you to give you the real rub, because it'll make a big difference.
Yeah, there's some really good points, Kane. That's good. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to hear from Kane on his AI implementations. So, Kane, thank you very much for your time.
No worries.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and bye for now.